Written Journal 48, Part 5, should be the final section. The second person I asked, I think, was relatively certain on both accounts, so I caught the 72 going the direction he pointed, asking the driver if Foster was his direction and if he went that far first. He indicated I was on track on both accounts. I eventually had to ask him if he could let me know when we'd reached Foster. He said I'd know by a Popeyes there. So I got off at Popeyes, which was indeed at 82nd and Foster. I didn't see anything that looked like a Gnosticism meeting or an OTO temple immediately. So I had a smoke, found a shopping cart, and did a pretty good search of the area, collecting cans the whole time, and didn't find it. I have been texting Scott for about a week with no response, and last night was no exception. I, of course, texted him before I went that I was going, and texted him when I got there, asking if he could help me find the place, and etc. needs to be added. When I got done, I had still not found the place, but I'd found enough cans and bottles to pay for the bus ticket. So I took the 72 back to the max, just barely catching it. When I got home, I worked a little on this entry until bedtime, after relaxing, smoking, and playing some NetHack. This morning, I was out of smokes, so after showering and changing clothes, I collected my 2 largest sacks of cans. I had to leave one and headed for the lobby. When I got there, the cleaning lady was there. I thanked her for the cans and bottles and said they'd come in handy. I asked her for a couple of large sacks. She indicated the lobby receptionist as the proper terminal. At first, he seemed adamantly negative, but slowly, through nonverbal and verbal cues from the janitor lady, he consented to 1, then 2 large trash sacks, which is what I needed. So I doubled them up and dumped the contents of my smaller sack in them. Then I went upstairs to do the same with the smallest sack, which I had to leave behind. I took them to Whole Foods. There were 2 people ahead of me in line. When the second of them got his turn, the machine almost immediately indicated that the glass bin needed attention. He commented that it was the glass bin, which is how I found out, and that was a pain in the ass. I asked if he was going to alert store staff, and he said he was. So I fairly soon decided to go out and have a smoke, and saw that, true to his word, he was telling store staff. When I got back in, I saw staff dragging bins, so I figured rightly they'd be back soon enough. Actually, I was about to leave when they came out of the elevator with the bins. The guy who was ahead of me had apparently given up. He was nowhere to be found, so I was alone and started inserting cans. I only got 46 in before the machine again needed fixing. So I went up and told the store staff of the problem and went out to have another smoke. When I got back in the store, staff were fixing the machine and someone was ahead of me in line. I told him that I had been turning in my cans when the machine broke down, and could I please be ahead of him in line? He said no, and that if I only had 10 cans, he'd allow it, but that I had as many cans and bottles as did he. But he said this right as store staff were putting an out-of-order sign on the machine. So I was satisfied and moved on. My next stop was Freddy's on Burnside and not Trader Joe's, since I thought correctly that I'd have more than the daily limit per store, 144 cans and bottles. I thought the machines would be in use with a long line, but the cans-only machine would probably be available soon enough. Turned out there was no one ahead of me. I'll have to try and remember that Freddy's is much less of a hassle since they got new machines. I got $8 and some odd cents in before the machine needed attention, but a guy in charge of the machines was right there, and he fixed it practically in the blink of an eye. I turned in my final $12 and some odd cents worth of cans, knowing that the total was above my limit for that store, but that Freddy's is sometimes lax with that rule, and besides, I could just turn in the slip tomorrow. I turned in my slip, and the cashier accepted both of them without a question, hesitation, or anything, and I got $20 and some odd cents. I had more than $25 when I left to buy smokes, and I currently have $22.03, affluent due to power-modifying feminine bias maturity. After I bought smokes, I came home just briefly to put the cans and bottles I'd found since turning in my cans and bottles, and to leave and to have a smoke. And also because I'd forgotten my lighter. When I got to my room, there was a small bag of cans and bottles hanging from my outside doorknob, and the cleaning lady was there to take credit. I said thanks, put all my cans and bottles away, had a smoke, and left for the next stop, STP, my next step, to contact Scott. Well, I am continuing this the next day, even though I almost completed it last night. Today is the 7th, and my phone finally got its calls and data. I've been working on this entry almost a week. Scott wasn't there, but had been there yesterday for quite a while. Had gotten a haircut and had just recently left. I left him a letter saying that unless he was ignoring my texts, he wasn't receiving them, and he should try restarting his phone, and that I'd gotten to 82nd and Foster the previous night, but couldn't find the place, and maybe we could get together on Sunday and try to contact me. If I wrote anything else in the letter, I've now forgotten it. After that, I think I went home, relaxed, smoked, and played some NetHack in preparation for resuming this entry. Then resumed it at about 6:30 p.m., stopping at about 10:05 p.m., and resuming when I awoke this morning, after again relaxing, smoking, and playing some NetHack. I still have $22.03. In NetHack, I am a knight who just got to level 2, experienced level 2 also. My horse died on level 1. I suspect a knight without a horse is not long for the Dungeons of Doom. The random Wikipedia article for this entry is a theater in England called the Sue Townsend Theater in Leicester. Sue Townsend should really be checked into by MWR if he hasn't already. She wrote a series of books and I think a few plays about a kid and adult who is a failed intellectual but whose diaries are his true calling, but he doesn't know it. They are comedies, and I should check them out too. I think MWR will like this entry, though I could easily be wrong. I can find no sense in which entries MWR likes. And now for the poem for this entry. When I went shopping, preserves, earlier, myself reading it, in his office, his machine, Navy men passing by, Willamette River, etc., on the bench stealing Wi-Fi, plug-ins at Waterfront Park, some sort of biking event, Joe's, 55 cigarettes worth of tobacco. It's now about 12:11 p.m. I have $2.41. And to